Did you know over 1.8 million temporary visa holders currently live in Australia, and many of them may be forced to leave by 2025? Shocking, right? But that's exactly what could happen under the country's new immigration overhaul. The government has already signalled massive cuts in migration numbers, and for thousands of people, this may mean packing up and saying goodbye, even if they've been living, working, or studying here for years. So who's at risk? Could it be you, your friend, or someone in your family? New rules are targeting students, workers, and even long-time residents on temporary visas. From tighter visa renewals to tougher language requirements, Australia's shifting immigration focus is already creating fear and confusion. And the scariest part? Some of these changes are happening quietly, buried in government papers most people never read. Stay with me, because in this video, I'll break down the 10 brutal changes you need to know. You'll find out who's safe, who's not, and what actions you can take before it's too late. This isn't fear-mongering, it's your future. Let's uncover the truth together. Number 1. Stringent points system reforms. One of the biggest shocks in the 2025 immigration shakeup is the dramatic overhaul of the points-based system. If you're planning to apply for a skilled visa, brace yourself. The minimum points threshold has now jumped from 65 to over 80 for most categories. This means thousands of applicants who would have previously qualified will now face instant rejection simply because they fall short on paper. So, what's changed? The Australian government is placing heavy weight on high-demand skills like AI, cybersecurity, and healthcare, while cutting back on general occupations. Age limits are now stricter, and bonus points for regional study or professional year programs have been reduced or removed entirely. Even English proficiency scores are under more scrutiny. Essentially, if you don't check every single box, your application may not even reach the assessment stage. This reform isn't just a bureaucratic update, it's a filter. The government is using it to slash migrant numbers quietly but effectively, without ever announcing direct bans. And here's the real danger. Many people currently living in Australia on temporary visas might not qualify under these new criteria when they try to switch to permanent residency. For them, the dream could suddenly end. Ask yourself, would you still qualify if you had to apply today? If not, it might be time to re-strategize or risk being left behind. Number 2. Temporary visas will be slashed. If you're holding a student, graduate, working holiday, or temporary skilled visa, this could be the most devastating change yet. In a move that's catching many off guard, the Australian government has announced plans to aggressively reduce the number of temporary visas issued each year starting in 2025. Why? Because policymakers believe temporary visas are being overused, flooding the system and putting pressure on jobs, infrastructure, and housing. This isn't just a vague policy tweak, it's a targeted effort to shrink the migrant intake by cutting off the very entry points that most international students and skilled workers rely on. That means fewer approvals, stricter vetting, and a higher likelihood of outright rejections. Already, many applicants are reporting unexplained delays and increasing refusals. The warning signs are here. For existing visa holders, this is terrifying. Renewal options are narrowing fast, and extensions that were once routine may soon become impossible. For example, graduate visa holders may no longer be allowed to apply for a second post-study work visa, and working holiday visas could face age and duration cuts. The message is clear. You've had your time. Now it's time to go. This could leave tens of thousands in legal limbo. Imagine spending years studying or working in Australia only to be shown the door with no pathway forward. It's happening already. And 2025 may only accelerate it. If you or someone you know is on a temporary visa, now is the time to seek expert advice and consider your next move. Number 3. English language criteria are tougher. In 2025, even your ability to speak English could determine whether you stay in Australia or get forced out. Under the new immigration rules, the minimum English language requirements have been raised across the board, and the implications are serious. Whether you're applying for a student visa, graduate visa, or skilled migration, you'll now need to score higher in IELTS, PTE, or equivalent exams to even be considered. For many, this feels like a sudden trap. A visa that seemed within reach last year may now require an IELTS score of 7.5 or even 8, depending on the stream. These are academic level scores, not casual conversation levels. And that's a big leap, especially for those from non-English speaking backgrounds. Students who have already invested tens of thousands of dollars in education may find their path blocked at the final stage, all because of a few points in a language test. And it doesn't stop there. Some sectors now require proof of English proficiency annually for ongoing visa compliance. Even family visa applicants are being drawn into this tightening web, with stricter standards introduced for dependent partners and parents. This isn't just about communication, it's about creating a selective filter, removing those who struggle to meet elite standards. The effect? Many will feel trapped in a system where they're good enough to study or work, but not good enough to stay. If your English test is expiring soon, or if you failed before, now is the time to act. Get help, prepare, and don't underestimate this, because language is no longer just a tool, it's a gatekeeper. Number 4. Pathway to PR narrowed. For years, many migrants in Australia have relied on a gradual transition from temporary visas to permanent residency, PR, but in 2025, that path is about to get shockingly narrow. Under the new immigration rules, only select professions and high-demand sectors will retain a clear route to PR. Everyone else? They may find themselves stuck in an endless visa loop, or worse, forced to leave when their current visa ends. What's changed? Previously, many international students and workers could shift from a student visa to a graduate visa, then to employer-sponsored PR or general skilled migration. That latter is being dismantled. Now, only applicants in sectors like healthcare, tech, engineering, and education are being prioritized. Hospitality, administration, and general labor, which employed thousands of migrants, are being quietly removed from eligibility lists. Even those working in skilled positions may face barriers if their occupation is no longer on the updated skilled occupation list, SOL, or if their employer fails to meet stricter sponsorship criteria. The goal here is clear: filter out low-contribution migrants and tighten long-term migration quotas without announcing outright bans. Imagine investing years of your life building a future in Australia, only to find the finish line has been moved out of reach. Families are now caught in uncertainty, unsure if their children born in Australia will have a future here. If your plan included applying for PR soon, you must reassess now. Because in 2025, the message is clear. PR is no longer a promise. It's a privilege, and only a few will get it. Number 5. Employer sponsorship audits. If you're on a sponsored visa, 2025 could bring unexpected risks that many aren't prepared for. The Australian government is rolling out strict new audits and compliance checks on employers who sponsor foreign workers, and the consequences are serious. If your sponsor fails an audit, your visa could be cancelled on the spot, even if you've done nothing wrong. These audits aim to crack down on fake or weak sponsorships, but they're also catching legitimate businesses in the crossfire. Employers now must prove with detailed documentation that they couldn't fill the position locally, that the job role still exists, and that they are actively compliant with every aspect of immigration law. A single mistake, like underpaying an employee or failing to report a job change, could cost them their sponsorship license. And when that happens, it's not just the company that suffers. The sponsored workers are left stranded, often without warning or recourse. Imagine building your life here, renting a home, working full-time, and then getting a letter saying your visa is invalid because your employer made a paperwork error. This reform may seem like a push for accountability, but in practice, it's creating widespread anxiety and instability. If you're currently on a 482 or similar visa, speak with your employer. Make sure they understand these new rules, because your future could depend on their compliance. We put hours of care into these videos to keep you informed. So if this helped you, please drop a comment below with your situation or thoughts. And don't forget, subscribing takes just one click, but helps us keep going with content that truly matters to your future. Number 6, priority for AI tech skills. If your background isn't in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data science, or digital engineering, you may soon find yourself pushed to the sidelines. In 2025, Australia is redefining what it considers valuable skills, and tech is king. The government is rapidly aligning its migration program with the future economy, meaning those in traditional professions are being deprioritized or removed altogether. For migrants in fields like hospitality, general trades, customer service, or retail, this shift could be devastating. The new Skilled Occupation List, SOL, and Global Talent Program are being restructured to favor emerging technologies and future-focused sectors, leaving behind those whose roles are seen as replaceable or non-critical. If you're not already in tech, you may need to reskill fast or risk being overlooked. There's also a rising preference for migrants who already have experience with Australian tech companies or possess a high-paying job offer in a recognized digital sector. Even applicants from overseas with PhDs in artificial intelligence are being fast-tracked, while those with decades of non-tech experience are waiting or being rejected. This tech prioritization is not just a trend. It's now written into visa policy. Australia wants to compete globally in innovation, and that means the doors are opening wider for coders, not chefs. If your career isn't aligned with this shift, now's the time to consider upskilling, pivoting industries, or finding ways to get certified in an in-demand digital field. Because in this new era, bytes beat bricks, and tech is your ticket to stay. Number 7, visa cancellations for breaches. In 2025, the Australian government is turning up the heat with zero-tolerance enforcement, meaning visa cancellations are now quicker, harsher, and more frequent than ever before. What used to be minor issues or correctable mistakes are now grounds for immediate cancellation. And the most alarming part? Many visa holders don't even realize they're in breach until it's too late. So, what counts as a breach? It's not just committing crimes or submitting fake documents. Even working extra hours as a student, failing to update your address, or missing a tax lodgement can now trigger cancellation. These changes are meant to weed out misuse, but they're also sweeping up honest, hard-working migrants in a cloud of confusion and fear. And it doesn't stop there. Immigration officials are now granted more discretionary power to cancel visas based on what they believe is non-compliance, without requiring immediate hard evidence. That means you could receive a cancellation notice simply for being suspected of working outside your visa conditions. No formal trial, no second chance. The reality? A growing number of people are being detained or told to leave within days, with very little room to appeal. This change is causing panic, especially among students, casual workers, and families with dependent visas. If you're not regularly checking your compliance, or if your employer isn't up to date, you could be next. Now is the time to be proactive. Don't assume you're safe just because nothing's happened yet. Read your visa conditions, keep documents ready, and when in doubt, seek advice. Because in 2025, one small mistake could cost you everything. Number 8, financial capacity test tightened. In 2025, your bank balance may decide your future in Australia. Under the new immigration framework, The financial capacity test has been overhauled, and it's catching thousands of people off guard. Applicants are now required to show significantly higher savings, income sources, and financial backing to secure or renew key visas like student, graduate, and even partner visas. Let's break it down. Previously, students were asked to demonstrate around 21,000 Australian dollars to cover living costs. But that figure has now nearly doubled, especially in metro areas like Sydney and Melbourne. And it's not just the main applicant. Dependents, spouses, and even children must now be factored into your proof of funds. If you can't provide recent bank statements, sponsor declarations, or financial guarantees, your visa can be denied instantly. This tightening hits hardest for international students, many of whom rely on part-time work to make ends meet. But with work hour caps reinstated and stricter compliance rules in place, they're being told, if you can't afford it up front, don't come at all. The same scrutiny applies to graduate visa holders trying to extend their stay. If you can't prove ongoing financial stability, your application could be dead on arrival. And the scariest part? Immigration officers now have more authority to randomly audit applicants post-approval. That means even if you pass initially, any financial red flags later could lead to cancellation. So if you're planning to stay in Australia, it's time to audit your own finances. Because in this new system, your wallet may speak louder than your dreams. Number 9. Limits on visa extensions. One of the most unsettling changes in 2025 is the tightening of visa extension policies, especially for international students, graduates, and bridging visa holders. What was once a flexible, multi-step journey to permanent residency has now become a rigid and restricted process. In simple terms, you may no longer be able to extend your stay even if you followed all the rules. For years, many migrants relied on a cycle: finish one course, extend the student visa with another, then apply for a graduate visa, and eventually try for PR. But under the new reforms, the Australian government is cracking down on visa hopping and setting firm limits on how many times you can renew or transition between certain visa subclasses. Take student visas, for example. Reapplying for a second or third course is now being seen as a red flag for non-genuine intent, and officers are instructed to deny extensions unless there is a clear academic progression. Even post-study work visas, 485, are facing caps. No more automatic 2-year extensions, and stricter criteria apply for regional benefits. This is particularly alarming for those who plan their lives around gradual upgrades, moving from course to course, job to job, building a future step by step. Now, that staircase is being pulled away mid-climb. If your current plan relies on just one more extension, it's time to rethink your strategy now. Because in this new era, stalling is no longer an option, it's a trap. The clock is ticking and the window to act is closing fast. Number 10. Cap on migrant intake announced. Perhaps the most defining move in Australia's 2025 immigration overhaul is the official announcement of a reduced annual migrant intake cap. While previous years saw over 400,000 migrants welcomed, the government has now slashed this number drastically, with targets falling to as low as 200,000 and possibly even lower in coming years. This decision marks a clear shift from growth to restriction. Why is this happening? Officials claim it's to ease housing pressures, reduce strain on infrastructure, and prioritise jobs for Australian citizens. But behind these talking points lies a harsh reality. Thousands of hopeful migrants, including long-term residents on temporary visas, may be denied residency simply because the quota is full, no matter how qualified they are. This isn't just about new applicants. People already in the system, working, studying, contributing, are now being told, there's no room. Entire families are being left in limbo, not because they've done anything wrong, but because the door is closing due to numbers. It's a brutal game of musical chairs, and when the music stops, many will be left standing. The impact will be felt across universities, workplaces, and communities. Skilled professionals may take their talent elsewhere. International students may reconsider investing in Australian education, and thousands who dreamed of a future here may now be forced to start over somewhere else. This cap isn't just a number, it's a signal that Australia is changing and the window of opportunity is shrinking. If you're in the system or planning to apply, now is the time to act before that window slams shut. As we've seen, Australia's 2025 immigration reforms are more than just policy updates. They represent a fundamental shift in who gets to stay, who gets to apply, and who gets left behind. From stricter English tests and tighter visa extensions to a dramatically reduced intake cap, the rules are changing fast, and millions could be impacted before they even realise what's happening. Whether you're a student, skilled worker, business owner, or someone simply dreaming of a life in Australia, this isn't the time to be passive. Now is the moment to review your status, seek expert advice, and build a strategy. Because the difference between staying and leaving may come down to preparation, or the lack of it. Don't wait until your visa is rejected. Don't assume you're safe because things seem fine now. These changes are rolling out, and they're already affecting lives. If this video opened your eyes or helped clarify your situation, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and most importantly, subscribe for real-time updates that could protect your future. Your future in Australia depends on what you do next. Don't take chances. Be ready. Be